It's a lot of fun building small PCs. So I want to tell you guys about my building experience with the Silverstone RVZ03, the Raven ARGB model. So stay tuned. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology here. Thank you for joining me for another video. I want to thank all of my recent subscribers. Please like the video, leave a comment, and if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing as well. I want to go over the build experience of the RVZ03, the Raven ARGB. I was actually pleasantly surprised how easy and awesome it was to build in this little case. This PC is basically just a little bit larger than an Xbox or a PlayStation 4, but the performance that you can fit in here is absolutely incredible. I mean, without an issue, you could cram in a 9900K and a 2080 Ti, and you would have as fast a gaming computer as you could imagine in such a small form factor. I mean, think of how many Xboxes and PlayStation 4s you would need to tower up in order to even meet the performance of this. So the case itself, first, the design, I really love it. It has this awesome little front panel. Even in videos when I do a nice slow shot of it, it almost looks like a cartoon. It's so well designed. It's such a rich color. It's not just like a blank piece of aluminum or plastic. They really did a nice job with the texture of these details, and I want to commend them for that, because visually this looks really stunning from all angles. You have your different openings for fans where you can even see in if you have some RGB, as well as it's meant for airflow. So they didn't compromise on airflow in this case. Even though it's small, you have a 120 millimeter fan slot that directs directly onto the CPU, as well as two separate 120 millimeter fan slots on the bottom portion that direct directly into the GPU. So that way you're getting cool air from all angles, and this really helps keep the thermal performance low. I was shocked at how well it performed in terms of both the GPU as well as the CPU cooling. Now for the GPU, I also threw in here the 5700 XT reference model, because I think this case, even more than the LD03, really benefits from having that blower style case. Just because it's so small, all that hot air is going to go out of the case. And then for the CPU cooler, I used the AR11, which is a very low profile, small air cooler, and I was really pleasantly surprised at how good the performance was. On the same processor, it was only maybe 3 to 4 degrees warmer than 120 millimeter AIO with a much bigger fan and creating even more noise. So this is extremely quiet, the cooling performance was exceptional, and it was really easy to install. I just basically plopped it on the CPU with the provided thermal paste, and you have these little things that you screw in the back, and it was a really secure fit. Another thing that I liked about the Silverstone RVZ03, the power supply, super easy to install. You have a little bracket that pops out. You just put the power supply in there. I used a small form factor power supply, but you can actually fit something a little bit bigger as well. All of the cables on the bottom are pretty accessible. I was able to plug, even a SATA or Molex in without having to remove the power supply. And once again, it has direct access to fresh air. So they were really smart in this, and they didn't compromise building a case that's small without good airflow. The airflow is amazing. It goes right to the power supply, and as I mentioned before, you have the GPU and CPU airflow. So for such a small case, there's a surprisingly amount of thought going into the actual airflow and thermals, which, as we all know, is essential for good performance and the longevity of your equipment. Mounting the motherboard was pretty easy. Of course, it's a small case, so you have to kind of wiggle it in there and really make sure it's in, but there was nothing too difficult about it. Everything was really nicely designed. The GPU has this little pull-out bracket that you can pull out. You mount your GPU to it, you screw everything down, and then it easily goes in place. It has a little PCIe bracket that's 90 degrees in order to get the GPU sort of facing in that direction. It's sort of like a vertical GPU. So the GPU I thought was a really nicely designed system to mount it. I mean, of course, with a case that has a profile that's this thin, you're not going to be able to mount a GPU in its horizontal position like you would see in most cases. So here you got to put it vertical, but it's even better because now you have the open slots for air cooling. So it works out really, really nice. In fact, if this case had maybe even like a glass panel with, little holes in it for airflow, it would look pretty sick being able to see that GPU. But we don't want to put glass here because in general, that's going to just kill the airflow, because with the type of material they have now, they can easily leave the opening for the, the fan slots for the air to go in. With glass, you would have to do maybe some other type of material that's glass-like, so that way you can do like a honeycomb shape or something like that. This case reminded me of another very rare case that I actually built in. If you guys are familiar with the Falcon Northwest Tiki, that's sort of a pre-built computer or a custom-built computer sold by the boutique company Falcon Northwest. There are some similarities. It's not the same, like the power supply goes in a different position, the motherboard goes in a different position, the GPU sort of up. So it is actually very different in terms of the internal layout. But it is a similar size, and I do believe that Silverstone also made that case for Falcon Northwest. So I think they took a lot of stuff that they learned from that and applied it here. And I actually think that this case is a much better implementation of that case, because that case was strictly meant for sort of blower style GPUs. You didn't have too much access to airflow. You did have the CPU and a smaller GPU area in, but this one has so much better access for airflow, because now you have literally 220 millimeter fan areas for the airflow, and it just feels like everything flows a lot nicer. Because of this GPU bracket as well, when you have that in, it's going to hide any miscellaneous little cables that you have. So actually, when the build is closed up with the GPU and the panel off, the cable management looks absolutely amazing. I mean, I did take special care to sort of zip tie everything, make everything nice and neat, make sure everything had a good airflow. And when you have a small case like this, you can't just leave it a bundle of wires, because first, I never like doing that. I like to give sort of an artistic representation of the cables to make it look nice. I just feel better that way, and I think people like it. And then second, if you leave it a jumbled mess, you're not going to be able to close the side panel because the wires are going to be everywhere since it's a small case. You may even have airflow issues. If you have a cable that can easily go up against a fan, or if it can easily go up against a GPU fan, you're going to stop that fan from spinning, and you're going to have serious issues with your hardware. So you do have to kind of plan out a little bit how you're going to zip tie and route your cables, because aesthetically it's going to look beautiful, as well as ensuring that you have the proper airflow for performance. And it wasn't that hard to do that. This case has more than enough space inside for some nice cables. Here I even use these custom red cables. I think they really pop, it looks sick, and it matches the red on the AMD 5700 XT, so I really like that. So if you take your time and you're careful, you can really do a nice job with cable management. Removing the panel is extremely easy. It's just a matter of unscrewing two screws and you pull it out, and then you have access to everything. The GPU bracket does have a couple of more screws that you have to take out with a Phillips screwdriver, but you got to make sure it's securely in there because it attaches at different points, so I understand why they did that. But it does go in and out very easily. And I think the design is really exceptional because you can fit in a lot of stuff in this case. And that GPU bracket is also going to double as a little mounting place for SSD drives. So you can put two of them on there, and everything's intelligently designed. So this is actually an extremely well-designed mini-itx system because it checks all of the boxes. I think it looks absolutely stunning. Performance is mind-blowingly good. Airflow everywhere. CPU, GPU, power supply, there's no constrained access to airflow, so that's incredibly good. So Silverstone really demonstrates an astonishing level of expertise in designing these mini-itx systems, because not only do they look visually stunning, but they know just the exact way that they have to be built in order to ensure good performance and great airflow, so you're not compromising. That really shows a lot of experience building cases, because not every single mini-itx case is going to have this level of attention to detail, and the end result is that the enthusiast builder like me or anybody that buys this case, you're just going to have a much more enjoyable time building and a much more higher performing case without the usual restrictions that go into a small case. So that's pretty amazing, and I'm extremely happy with this build. Like, this is definitely one of my favorite builds in this little ITX case. I think it looks sick, and I'm in love with the performance. I'd like to thank Silverstone for providing the RVZ03 case as well as the 2 coolers. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please remember to subscribe, smash that notification button, smash that like button, leave a comment. I want to know if you guys have built in the mini-itx case and what you guys thought of this case as well. So let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys on the next video.